The first couple weeks of the college football season are finished, which means we do have a grasp at some 2025 NFL draft prospects. Some have raised their stock, and some have dropped it. And I'm going to go over those 10 prospects in this video. If you're new, subscribe to the channel as I will be doing draft content all year long. But for now, I'm Chase Keller, and welcome to post Week 1 2025 NFL Draft Risers and Fallers. Enjoy. Let's kick things off with the risers of the bunch, as the fifth biggest riser on this list is South Carolina safety Nick Emmanwori. According to Mock Draft Database, he began the season as the 108th ranked prospect on the consensus big board. Now, he's ranked 82nd, and he's up that high for good reason, as he's balled out these last couple weeks with the Gamecocks. Up against Old Dominion, he did allow himself to be targeted 6 times, but he only let 3 of those get hauled in for only 13 yards. On top of that, he added a pass breakup and spent most of his time as the team's nickel corner. That's just impressive to think about given his 6'3", 230-pound frame, which is already impressive for the safety position. But then up against Kentucky, he only let 1 target go his way, and he didn't let it get caught. In fact, he actually picked off that target and returned it to the house to make the game a 31-6 win for the Gamecocks. Over Kentucky, by the way, that's impressive. So altogether, he's allowed 3 catches on 7 targets for 13 yards, along with an interception and a pass breakup. Those are some great numbers. And I know it's only been 2 games, but doing that in 58 coverage snaps is pretty good. Mix that in with the 7.7% missed tackle rate and some very solid run defense, and you have the 5th highest draft riser for the 2025 NFL Draft so far. Moving on to the 4th ranked riser on this list, and we move over to the team that almost shockingly upset Penn State. A huge name from that Bowling Green team happens to be their starting tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. If you watched my top 10 potential gems video, you would have known that RJ Maryland was my tight end for that list, but Fannin Jr. almost made that list as well. Up against the Nittany Lions, he brought in 11 catches for 137 yards and a touchdown, which is super good for a tight end. Then you note that like 10 different defenders allowed a target to go to them when they were guarding Fannin Jr., and he gave them all the work except for maybe Kevin Winston. But Penn State is one game, and we're talking about the first 2. But don't worry, he dominated against Fordham as well. In a 41-17 win, he caught 6 passes for 67 yards. Now, he only had 6 targets, but he also played in 21 receiving snaps. His catch percentage as well is 94.4%, so it's awfully clear that he's getting open. This could be Connor Bazelak's breakout season, and he's been waiting for that. And Fannin could be his number 1 target for that season. Those 2 games have allowed Fannin to go from 263rd to 201st on the consensus big board, and has allowed him to get the number 4 spot on this list. Let's go back over to the defensive side of the ball for the risers part of this list. And we talk about Iowa linebacker Jay Higgins at number 3. He was already a shocking returnee to go back to college football for his 5th season, but he's already impressing as much as he was in prior seasons. The 2023 FBS tackle leader was doing more than just make tackles, especially against Iowa State, where he had his 2nd career interception. His coverage skills were on point for that game, allowing 1 catch for 3 yards, along with allowing 2 catches for 6 yards in the Illinois State game the week before. When targeted, he allowed a passer rating of 39.6 against Iowa State. Week 1, it was only 79.2. And he's not particularly known for his coverage skills. He's very good in run defense, and it's already showing this season too. PFF has him graded at a 91.2 in coverage, an 85.1 in run defense, an 80 flat in tackling, and an overall grade of 90.8. While teams know how great of a linebacker he is, the main concern for him is that he's going to be turning 23 years old when the draft comes around. So he has to keep playing at an elite level in order for his stock to rise. And that is exactly how he's starting the season. As a result, he lands on the draft risers list at number 3. There has to be a quarterback to make this list. So far this season, there has been a quarterback who has gone forward to be my personal QB1 as we speak. It may be bold, but Miami quarterback Cameron Ward is the quarterback who has shown the most this season to me. He is 5th in all of FBS in passing yards with games against Florida and Florida A&M. He also has 7 total touchdowns and 1 pick. His impressive play has improved his consensus big board position from 76th 2 weeks ago to 42nd now. People are particularly impressed with his ability to improvise. And despite good pressure from Florida, he still showed out in poise and pocket presence. He followed up that big in-state rivalry win with a 56-9 win over Florida A&M, who were the best HBCU in the country last year. Personally, Georgia quarterback Carson Beck was my personal QB1 going into the season, but already with a slight upgrade, Ward has now taken that spot. And if you watched either Miami game, you would see why he has moved up my rankings. And for that reason, he's number 2 on this risers list. But the number 1 was a no-brainer. Come on now. Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty has started the season with a ridiculous 459 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns. And yes, he played Georgia Southern, but he also played Oregon and still put up nearly 200 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Against Oregon. He's an early Heisman candidate, and as the consensus RB1, you might wonder why he made this list. Doesn't he not have a lot of room to rise? Well, he does. He went from the potential number 1 running back to the consensus number 1 running back to now a potential top 10 pick. He's currently 20th on the consensus big board, but just 1 month ago, he was ranked 63rd. He has skyrocketed his position on that board. He's put on a show in multiple games already, using his great combination of physicality and athleticism to break free. He also already has 8 runs of 15 yards or more, which just like his rushing yard total, leads all of FBS. I put out a tweet a couple weeks ago asking my followers if it was bold to have Ashton Jeanty higher in my rankings than Ollie Gordon II. I don't think that's a bold take anymore. It has grown into a consensus opinion, and for that reason, he is the number 1 highest draft stock riser on my list. Now we have to get a little negative and talk about the fallers. Let's kick off this list with a consensus first round draft pick who hasn't been playing like a consensus first round draft pick. I'm not sure how long this stock will last for Arizona cornerback Takario Davis, but if he keeps this play up, it won't be long. The tone was set for Davis against New Mexico, as he almost got ejected for targeting earlier on in the game, but in the 4th quarter, he still got ejected because of 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. In that game, he allowed 3 catches on 5 targets for 25 yards, which is not bad, but it doesn't make up for the ejection. Then in the second game up against Northern Arizona, he allowed 2 catches on 3 targets for 24 yards. Again, not bad, but he's not playing like a first round pick as we speak. He is honestly losing grip of that stock. He also missed his only tackle attempt up against Northern Arizona, but it is kind of unfortunate that he didn't get another opportunity. But that's outside the point. There's a reason why Davis is number 5 on this list, and that's because he's not dropping his stock that much just yet. But if he continues to play like this, that stock will continue to drop like that. But for now, he's number 5 on this stock fallers list. The number 4 player on this list is honestly in an extremely similar boat to Davis. That player is Ohio State edge rusher JT Tuimoloau. I say extremely similar because it's not the exact same situation. Let me explain. Yes, JT has not been playing like his projected first round pick status. Sure, he did have 1.5 sacks up against Akron, but those 2 plays where he got his hands on the quarterback were his only 2 pressures of the game. And then in the second game against Western Michigan, he did have only 1 pressure on only 10 pass rush snaps. Okay, the 53 snaps might have something to do with it. But the extra bit to this explanation has to do with the person lining up on the other side of him, Jack Sawyer. Sawyer has played in 57 snaps compared to Tuimoloau's 53. Sawyer has 1 sack compared to JT's 1.5. What am I getting at here? I have to go to the pressures. In 30 pass rush snaps, Sawyer has a whopping 10 pressures. That is fantastic, and it's a lot better than the 3 that JT has. JT has those 3 in his 26 pass rush snaps. While it's not bad, it's not first round-esque, especially noting how good Sawyer is playing. So as we speak, teams are going to want to have Sawyer over JT, which is not how the stock was going into the season. It was the other way around. On top of that, in my opinion, Sawyer holds better athletic traits than JT, which will allow for teams to want him more. So yes, while JT has not been playing bad, he's in the same boat as Sicario Davis, as he's not been playing like a first round projected pick. And for that reason, JT is number 4 on this list. Moving on to number 3 of the fallers list, we have a college football 25 cover athlete. It's obviously not going to be Quinn Ewers, he just beat the brakes off of Michigan. It's obviously not going to be Travis Hunter, he's been playing well on both sides of the ball. So that lands us on the obvious one here, Donovan Edwards. The Michigan running back has started his apparent RB6 campaign with 68 rushing yards on only 19 carries in the first 2 games. He isn't even the running back who's gotten the most volume on the team. That's Kalel Mullings with 21 rushes and 117 yards. Sure, the Michigan offense has been struggling so far, but Edwards has needed to separate himself as a potential draftee. He has not done that yet. We know the potential he has. He had almost 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns in his sophomore season. But his junior season, he couldn't even get 500, and he had only 4.2 yards per carry, which is a huge downgrade from the 7.1 that he had in 2022. But people thought maybe Blake Corum going to the NFL was going to leave Edwards with the sole possession of the backfield. Instead, he's back in another dual backfield. We haven't even seen him in a full volume game yet this season, so realistically it is harder to dig into him as a prospect. But then you think more, he's not getting the full volume. Shouldn't he be getting the full volume and performing with it if he's supposed to be the 6th running back off the board next season? A 5th-year senior with 50 career carries going into the season is outplaying him. So that's why Edwards' stock is falling. Hopefully he can recover, but for now, he's just going to sit on this stock fallers list. With 2 players left, we have not talked about an offensive lineman at any point in this video yet. That streak ends now as we talk about Alabama offensive lineman Tyler Booker. He's an interesting prospect in himself, as the frame and alignment versatility are pretty intriguing and teams are going to want to take that on. But not if he keeps the play up that he's showing right now. The better of the two games so far was the week 1 matchup against Western Kentucky. He shined as a pass blocker in the game, allowing 0 pressures on 13 pass block snaps. But the run blocking just was not it, and according to PFF, he graded as a 57.7 run blocker. That comes especially more concerning given that he had more run block snaps than pass block snaps. He made it worse in the second week, as his run block grade went down to a 49.2 during the second game. But the pass blocking is what fell off, as he allowed 2 pressures and 2 QB hurries in 36 pass block snaps. Caden Proctor not playing may have forced him out to left tackle, which is a little uncomfortable for him, but you should not be letting guys named Rico Watson dominate you. No offense to Rico Watson, no, but Tyler Booker should be blocking better than that. And because he did, Booker does not have good momentum going into the next 2 games up against Wisconsin and Georgia. Hopefully Booker can recover, but for now, he is not off to a hot start going into the season. Hopefully Booker can recover, but for now, he's not off to a hot start so far. As a result, he is the second biggest draft faller on this list. Not number 1, but there's still a factor of concern. There is likely going to be a quarterback on both sides of the list for every video I do. The unlucky quarterback who falls is number 1 on this draft fallers list. There's really only one quarterback inside the top 100 who has struggled these past 2 weeks, and this guy just got upset by Northern Illinois. Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard. I had hope for Leonard going into the season, and in his couple seasons starting at Duke, he did show some flashes. But he's been very underwhelming for the Fighting Irish so far, as he does have 321 yards and no touchdowns through the first 2 games. On top of that, he threw 2 interceptions against NIU and has fumbled the ball 3 times, which that's just not good. He looks okay on the ground with 20 rushes for 103 yards and a touchdown so far, but that's just not going to make up for the bad passing. He really has to pick up the pace as a passer, and if he can't, he might go from the top 100 to an undrafted prospect. I'm not ready to give up just yet, but I need to see some vast improvements if I don't want to. He has a couple easier matchups coming up, and then he goes off to face Louisville, and they have a difficult defense. Let's see how he plays. But because of the first 2 weeks of the season, he's the biggest loser on this list. Well, those are my draft risers and fallers after week 1 of the NFL season. Do you agree with these lists? What would you change? Let me know in the comment section below. Wait, are you not subscribed yet? Well, do it now. I release content like this all the time and would really appreciate your support. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and I will see you all next time.